Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel where I discuss everything mental health, self-growth, self-worth, self-love, self-confidence. You get the point. Today I'm going to be discussing attachment styles, and we're going to be putting the shadow on me, well, the light, and discussing which one I feel I resonate with, and you might too, who knows. So first, let's get into the different types of attachment styles. There are 4. Do you know what they are? There are 4 different types of attachment styles. They are secure, anxious, avoidant, dismissive, and avoidant fearful. Those 4 attachment styles, they do come from somewhere though. So let's discuss where they come from first of all. An attachment style is something that stems from your early childhood experiences with your primary caregivers. So depending on how you feel your needs were met as a child, those experiences obviously go with you, and they do determine what kind of adult you'll be, regardless of whether you believe that or not. That's just the way it is. It's psychologically proven. That's how our brains work. And eventually, as you move on into adulthood, that does go with you at some point. So I just want to talk about the secure attachment for a second here, because I know I don't have a secure attachment style. It's something that I'm working towards. It's something that's going to overall improve my life. And I feel like if I did have a secure attachment style from the beginning, it would have made my life a whole lot different and a whole lot better. I'll be honest with you. It's something that I'm definitely aspiring to be, but I'm gonna definitely tell you guys how you can get an attachment style that is secure if you don't already have one, and things that you should avoid. So let's talk about an anxious attachment style, which is the one that I feel I relate to the most, which is kind of unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is. You just have to be real with yourself. People that have an anxious attachment style, they often are, and these are just characteristics that they may display. People that have an anxious attachment style oftentimes can be codependent. They can be jealous. They can sometimes be a little bit controlling to avoid being abandoned. They are usually not very comfortable being alone. It's very difficult for them. And honestly, like, being alone may sound so easy and so simple for some people, but for the anxious attachment style person, it's extremely difficult for them to be alone because they have intrusive thoughts that disrupt the way that the brain should function. And they oftentimes feel like, oh my God, like if somebody doesn't want to be with me all the time, they don't love me, which we know is not the truth. Once you're able to scale it back and rationalize, you realize, okay, that's a little bit absurd. People that have an anxious attachment style often have very difficult moments trusting people because of that caregiver piece. So if their caregiver wasn't someone that they felt that they could depend on, or someone that didn't 100% meet their emotional needs, they will tend to be a little bit or a lot of bit less trustworthy than, let's say, the secure person. Someone who has an anxious attachment style, and this is exactly where I feel like I may relate to this style. These people have a very difficult time setting clear boundaries with others. So they will often do things because they want to be, I wouldn't say nice, but even if they don't want to do something, they'll do it because they want to keep that person around. So someone can ask you like, hey, like, can I borrow your car? And you really don't want them to borrow your car, but you're going to let them borrow the car because you fear that if you say no, you may lose out on that friend or that romantic partner, etc., etc. Those are clear indicators that you have difficulty setting boundaries and you have difficulty stating your needs and your wants in your relationships. And that could be overall very problematic because you're not staying true to yourself and what you actually need and want from your relationships. People that have an anxious attachment style oftentimes they need validation from others to feel good about themselves. So they thrive off of like compliments, and not even just compliments, but just expressions from other people that they are doing well in something, or that they're intelligent, or that they're beautiful, or that they're skinny, you know, or like they're fit, you know, like they thrive off of validation. This is where it gets a little bit slippery slopey. The person that has the anxious attachment style is going to have an intense amount of desire for closeness and intimacy. Can you imagine someone who has that intense amount of need for closeness, and then they end up with someone who has an avoidant attachment style? Can you imagine what that's like? It's pretty much like cat and mouse at that point. And it's very difficult for that person with the anxious attachment style, because if they have this need for closeness, and then they usually gravitate towards those people that are avoidant. What happens in that relationship is the person that's avoidant is going to view the person that has the anxious attachment style. They're going to view them as very clingy and needy, and they're going to pull away, which is the anxious person's biggest fear, is that they're going to be rejected and they're going to be abandoned. So therefore, that creates major problems in those relationships. What I've learned personally is to separate, how do I say this? To separate truth from reality. So what I do is, if I have a thought, and I've spoken about this in my previous video, if I have an intrusive negative thought that pops into my head while I'm in a relationship, I'm now learning that I have to dissect the thought and rationalize it. And if it doesn't make sense, then it's oftentimes not rational. So, I mean, it makes sense now when you scale it back and you're not in a relationship, that you can kind of see like, I was doing this, that, and the third. But when you're in something, you can't see it. That's why it's important for you to take that time to be alone. The anxious attachment person is also going to be the person that is going to, you know, look at your social media, wanting to know who you're with. They will oftentimes feel neglected when you are spending time with other people that is not them. They will oftentimes check phones. They will do all of that because they, in a sense, need you. And so when your attention is off of them, they will oftentimes feel neglected and insecure and sad and lonely. So that is what that pretty much boils down to. But in 2023, we're working towards being secure. Now, I made a couple notes that I'm going to read for you guys of what a secure attachment style is going to look like. And it also, I want you guys to understand that having a secure attachment style is what's going to help you to create meaningful, long-lasting relationships where you're able to set clear and concise boundaries and just, you know, stand in your power. You're going to have a strong sense of self, and you're going to be able to attract better people in your life. So let's talk about rebuilding neural pathways. So if you don't know what neural pathways are these little things in your limbic system of your brain, and that pretty much controls how you think, how you feel, how you express emotions, all that stuff. So imagine if you have spent your entire life building neural pathways that are negative, and you've only known to be anxious in love, anxious in friendship, it's going to be very hard to reverse those things. That's why you have to make a severe conscious effort to work on those things as you get older and as you move through life. So the first step to having a secure attachment style is to rebuild your neural pathways, but that's going to come from all the things I'm going to say after that. Stand in your power. Another one is to always put yourself first. You come first. If you can't take care of yourself first, you cannot take care of anybody else. Someone who has a secure attachment style is not going to try to prove their worth to others, because you know that you are number one. You know that you're the best. You know that you're intelligent. You know that you're beautiful. You know that you're smart. You don't need anybody to validate those things about you. You know yourself best, so you have to work off of that. You need to trust. That's a big one for some people. It's very difficult for a lot of people to trust. But think about it this way. If you spend your life focusing on what's going to go wrong, chances are things are going to go wrong because that's the type of energy that you're putting out. So if you try your best, if you try your real hardest to try and be in the present and not in the future, because that's what anxiety is, right? Anxiety is you thinking so much about the future that you're not present in the moment and you're not focusing on the here and now. Communicate clearly and concisely. That is the biggest thing for myself I've learned over the last few months. I need to be intentional. I need to be clear and concise about my wants and my needs, especially while dating. In the past, because I was in that anxious attachment style, I was constantly, clouding over what I actually wanted and what I needed in relationships in order to keep someone around. So I wouldn't voice my wants and my needs clearly because I thought in my mind that I was going to be perceived to be undesirable, and which I know now is not true. But when you are in that state of mind, you oftentimes struggle back and forth about, what you want to say and what you want to express to your partner because you don't want them to leave you. Learning how to say no. This is still something I'm working on, but it's honestly something that's so crucial to developing a secure attachment style, because if you're not able to say no, then that goes back to you not stating clearly and concisely your wants and your needs, and other people will be able to walk all over you and they will have no boundaries. They'll have no respect for you because you let anything slide. So those are a few steps to improving your attachment style and moving in towards the secure attachment bubble, which we all would love to be in. And the last one is being comfortable being alone. So that goes back to what I was saying about your self-love and your self-worth. Working towards that means spending time with yourself. Who knows you better than you? No one. So you have to consciously make an effort to spend time alone. Write down in your journal or on a scrap piece of paper things that you like to do and explore those things so that you are able to build that relationship with yourself. Rebuild it in yourself before you can build a relationship with anybody in your life. So I feel those are a handful of good tips to build a secure attachment style. You can go on the internet and further search on those 4 types of attachment styles and comment below in the comment section which one you feel that you sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. Which one you feel you resonate with the most. Are you a secure attachment style person? Are you an anxious attachment style person? Do you have an avoidant attachment style or a disorganized attachment style? Let me know. And maybe for the next video, I can discuss more attachment styles. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And turn on your post notifications if you haven't already so that you can know when I post. And I will see you guys in the next video.